You could actually make this a permanent solution for a home for an adult Ackie. You can make a trough a permanent solution in itself. Really great way to give great dimensions to your Ackie, but at the same time saving some money. Hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to be taking a look at setting up a temporary enclosure for the new top ender Ackie male that I'm getting. He needs to be in something for the next month while I have the permanent PVC enclosure being made. I want something that I can take apart and put back together for when I move, so I didn't do a custom enclosure this time, although I kind of want it to because I can make a video on it and show you guys how I do the custom wooden enclosures. But what I'm going to do for a temporary solution, you could actually make this a permanent solution for a home for an adult Ackie because it has really the correct dimensions all around, and that's using this trough here. This was actually inside of Dell's enclosure. Dell's enclosure being this enclosure here, I actually built this enclosure around the trough. It was designed with the trough in mind, and that was purely really to just take pressure off of the wooden sides. It's well put together, so it's holding up pretty well, but you can see I did have to put a brace here because it was bursting a little bit. There is a lot of pressure in there with all that substrate, so a trough can really contain that. So number one, you could definitely use a trough inside of a wooden enclosure to kind of make it more well done. That's definitely a thing you can do if you're willing to spend the money. But like I said, you can make a trough a permanent solution in itself, and that's a really great way to give great dimensions to your Ackie, but at the same time saving some money, since I think it was only like $250 to buy. Okay, so I'm gonna clean this baby up as I kind of been using it as a workbench for cutting wood and stuff. But I'm gonna clean it up, and then we'll start talking about the lid and what I'm gonna put in it and all that good stuff. So I'll catch up with you guys after I clean it. Okay, so we're in the reptile room now, and it looks like we have a little bit of an issue with it fitting. I have a solution for it. I just went to Lowe's and I got everything I need to finish this enclosure up. So I do have a solution for it, but it just didn't fit in that area. I really thought it was going to fit. I thought I measured it to 6 feet, but I think it's a little bit longer than 6 feet. I don't think I included sort of the thickness of the metal. But anyway, I have a solution for it, but it's all clean. All nice looking and everything, so I'm just gonna kind of do my job and fill it in and stuff like that, put substrate in, lift it up the ground a little bit so it's a little more level, then I'll key you guys in as I go along with that process. We now have it off the ground. I got two cinder block type things here, roughly the same height as that little step there, so that's good. And also I did put in substrate. I have to mix in this a little bit. As you guys probably know, I do roughly 2 parts soil to 1 part sand. So about 2/3 of this is going to be organic soil and the other part play sand. So I'm going to mix it together a little bit. I just do that with my hands. Some people ask me how I mix it together. I'm sure there are some fancier solutions that don't require you to get as dirty, but I typically just like get, elbow deep in the substrate and just mix it together. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to start putting boards on top as sort of the lid, and I'll show you guys what I kind of did for that when I get to cutting it up. Okay guys, so it's late, but I did just want to show off before I went to bed what I got done. I do have the boards and everything up. I also did mix the substrate. It's kind of hard to see because it's a little dark, but I did mix it, and then I have the boards. Right here, we have 2 boards, and this is actually leftover wood from the baby enclosure, which is this enclosure right here. So I just took this, and I cut it about like 26 inches, which is what this is across, and I just have separate boards. Here's more of them that just lay across it, and I can move individual boards depending on where I want to get in. These boards here are going to be a little harder to move, but this is where sort of the basking bulbs are going to be. Here's an example one here. This is just some aluminum sort of mesh that I just screwed to the bottom of this. So it's going to lay on top of here. Otherwise, we're going to have these boards just kind of going across right here next to one another. And then I'm going to have UVB under there. Actually connected to some of these boards. Okay guys, today the Ackie is arriving probably in a matter of hours, and I still got quite a few last minute things to finish up. I gotta put the UVB in, I gotta put some hides and climbing wood in, and it's been quite the day already, and it's pretty much, I think, only like 10 o'clock here. I had to get a little creative, and pardon the mess here. It's been quite the journey the last couple days, but I've had to get a unique solution to UVB because there are no 46-inch fixtures available. They're still being imported in since Arcadia is in Europe. So you can see here I only have one in Asus's adult enclosure. He is my male adult Ackie currently. While I usually have two, and over there's Dell, you can see two of them right there. The thing is the front one is just a 6% UVB bulb, and it's really only there to light up the enclosure more. It really doesn't give too much additional benefits. That one right there is 14%. So I just removed that. But the thing is I have right now an extra 12% that I want to use. I don't want to use a 6% because that's a little bit too low of UVB. It's not really going to do anything for the new Ackie. So what I had to do to use the 3-foot 12% one, since this is a 46-inch fixture, was I had to go ahead and replace Tortellini's, who normally has a, a 4-foot one, no, a 3-foot one, with a 4-foot one, and plug in the 6% there because he uses 6% since he doesn't need as much UVB, and then take Tortellini's, which is a 3-foot one, and then use that with the 12%. So I'm going to be putting that in for the Ackie enclosure over there now, but those things were so hard to get out, let me tell you. I actually smacked my neck into this trying to pull out Tortellini's. I hate this enclosure down here. I can't wait to get you in a trough, Tortellini. I just hate getting in there. But anyway, that's the struggles I've been dealing with. So I'm going to put the UVB in, and then once I do that, maybe after I put in some hides and stuff as well, I'll show off the final enclosure. Here's pretty much the final enclosure. I just got to put the UVB on. But I had some extra wood from when I was doing Asus and Dell's enclosure, so I do have some climbing wood. I have a nice piece right there that's pretty thick. I can't go too high in this just because I can't get within 15 inches of the UVB. So that's how high it's going to go, at least on this side. It does go a little bit higher on the other end there. But I have two hides. I have one over there. And I'm going to put a couple more things in here after they come in that I bought online. So this is pretty much what I got for now. Not too high of climbing, but I think it'll do the job for a month. But now all I have to do is put the wood planks on and UVB. And finally, we have the UVB. I'm actually really happy with how this worked out. I moved it over slightly because I did not want to connect it to this, since that's already connected to the aluminum mesh. It would have been a little hard to move that with both of them attached, so I attached it to this one here and this one here, and then I still have the flexibility of moving this one out. So all I have to do now is flip it over and put the other board in, and then we are golden. And now that we're all finished, I did just want to say a couple things on making a trough a permanent enclosure, as I've kind of designed this for temporary use, although, you know, the whole thing about this is that you can actually use something like this trough as a permanent enclosure for an Ackie. Really what it comes down to is the inside, the use of the trough is all accurate, but you probably want to design a better roof, or a better lid. I don't know why I would call that a roof. But you probably want something more flexible, something you could probably lift up with a handle here and kind of open like up so the whole thing comes up. With the UVB and the basking bulbs are more flexible. Here it's kind of a little finicky to move around. You know, I did make it somewhat flexible to get in there compared to laying like just sort of a sheet of plywood over it. But it's not as flexible as it could be. And definitely for ease of use and such like that, you probably would want it to be a little bit more flexible if this was a permanent enclosure. You could probably also make it look a little bit nicer. Obviously, I just kind of cut planks and stuff. You could probably cut it to sort of the oval shape, if you want to call it that, and such like that. And I would also say, for an actual Ackie enclosure, after experimenting with sort of making an enclosure where there's a little bit more airflow, you can see back there in the baby enclosure, I experimented with that. I definitely think less airflow, while air humidity is not really that big of a thing still, is still better to hold more humidity in sort of the substrate. So I don't think this much of a mesh is really needed, and I would, if this was a permanent enclosure, probably cut down on that. So that's probably a few modifications I would make to make this permanent. Just ease of use stuff and just a couple minor corrections. That about wraps up this video, guys. Make sure to check that lower right hand corner. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed. I think this is a wonderful, cheap way to make a good Ackie monitor enclosure that has the correct dimensions instead of sort of a 4x2x2 or something of that. But yep, that's about it, guys. I appreciate... Ooh, what is that? Yes, we still have our Christmas tree up.